Thank you for all of you who are watching tonight. We also want to thank all veterans, our first responders, our law enforcement agencies, and everyone who has helped during the COVID-19. And my heart goes out to those of you who have lost loved ones during this pandemic. May God bless you all. Also, I want to thank Grassroots for America for sponsoring this event. We are grateful to you for supporting us.
What truly matters is not which party controls our government, but whether our government is controlled by the people.
Thank you for joining us tonight with Seminole County Commissioner District 1 Republican 2020 primary. We have tonight with us Mr. Bob Dallari, who has kindly agreed to be part of this conversation. And for all of you who have been so patient to wait with us to ensure that this goes more smoothly, we are missing still audio. We're not able to hear Mr. Dallari. And so, as I've already said, this event is sponsored by Grassroots for America. And, you know, here at Seminole County Debates, we will educate, we will empower and listen to you, the Seminole County voters. Tonight, Send'Or TV is honored to be hosting the Seminole County Commissioner Debate, District 1 Republican primary. As I said, the incumbent, Mr. Dallari, has joined us. We don't have audio. His challenger, Mr. Mayor Matt Morgan, kindly declined the opportunity, and so we will we will proceed with the conversation with Mr. Dallari. And so far, we are still waiting for audio on his end. Okay, so we're still here waiting for Mr. Dallari. And thank you so much for your patience this evening, and I will proceed. And as we know, we'll have to arrange for him to call. So I have Mr. Dallari. Finally, we can go beyond technology and go back to the old way of doing things. That's what innovation is. And, you know, if we were on a deserted island, we didn't have all of these gadgets, we would have to make do. And this is what this is. Mr. Dallari, welcome tonight to this event. And I want to test to see if the audience can hear you. Can you please introduce yourself?
My name is Commissioner Bob Dallari. I'm Seminole County Commissioner representing District 1 here in Seminole County.
Okay, thank you so much. And we have with us Alexandra Levine, and her and myself, we will be asking you a few questions. And also we will be streaming questions from the audience. So audience, please send your questions. And we will begin with you telling the first question. Alexandra?
Well, I just want to say thank you so much, Mr. Dallari, for being here tonight. My name is Alexandra Levine. I'm the founder of Potomac Sports and Entertainment Network and youarenoidiot.com. So thank you so much. So one of the biggest things that we're talking about is identifying the commissioner's priorities and the methods by which they hope to accomplish those goals. So our first question for you is, what policy changes or investments are necessary to encourage broader employment? Oh. Miss.
Form of normality.
Oh.
So we've done and we are doing to do that. One is we've actually have a plan, an economic development plan that is established by the business people here in Seminole County.
Oh. Mr. Dallari, I'm so sorry to stop you. We could not hear you in the beginning of the first question. can you repeat the answer to your question? Just make sure that your phone is, the volume of your phone is all the way up and that you put your phone on speaker. Okay, much better. Just speak a little bit, just have the phone a little bit closer to your mouth. Much better.
No, but we will call you right back.
Oh, okay. We're gonna be on hold for a little bit, guys. We're just having some technical difficulties. That's the beauty of COVID-19 and quarantining and using modern technology. You know, we should be going back to the days of old, but unfortunately we can't see each other at this time due to COVID-19. I just want to say on another note, breaking news tonight, the President of the United States has, according to the CDC and according to the reports of the state of Florida in terms of spikes of COVID-19, he has decided to cancel the RNC convention, which was supposed to be held August 28th in Jacksonville, Florida.
So much for coming back. Thank you so much. And this is so much better. We have many devices, so we appreciate your patience. So let's ask the question again, Alexandra.
Hi, so as I was saying, thank you so much, Mr. Dallari, for being here. So the first question is, what policy changes or investments are necessary to encourage broader employment?
So first of all, we here in Seminole County over the past few years, we've been investing in our economy that we have an economic development plan that was established by the business people here in Seminole County. We have a broad base of businesses, both high-tech as well as industrial, as well as the labor forces. We brought several different groups of people together. We've had them develop a plan that we've actually implemented. We implemented about 4 years ago. That's actually helping us keep some of our jobs as well as moving forward to make sure that people can get back to work quicker. One of the things we're doing with our CARES Act dollars is we are opening up to small businesses because we know that 80% of all jobs here are for small businesses. You know, companies from anywhere from 2 to 3 to 50 to 100 people. That's small businesses in local businesses, local government perspective. We have grants to offset some of the costs and losses that they've had in COVID-19, and that's actually being rolled out right now. We're actually bringing in Ernst & Young to facilitate it so that we can actually have professional people that have facilitated projects like this before that are fully staffed to get people back to work quicker. That's probably the quickest way that we're going to be doing it right now. We've actually using a total of $82 million locally just in Seminole County that we're investing to get people back to a sense of normality as quick as we can.
That's excellent. Thank you so much. And we are so benefiting from your taking your I know how busy you are, for taking the time to help us understand how your office functions and the benefits to taxpayers. So the next question is, what part of government would receive more attention if you were elected? We have so much going on now with in the headlines. So what is your priority?
Well, like I just said, our number one priority is getting people back to work, getting that paycheck. That has to be our number one priority. Our number two priority is assisting our schools. We have a phenomenal relationship with our school system, and that we're actually using some of our care dollars to help our school system to make it safer or safe for our school children to go back to work. That's a two-pronged approach. Get people back to work and help our school system allow people to not just go back to school, but to make it safer. And then, of course, with all the different things that are happening here in Seminole County, we're actually reaching out to our 7 cities. We have 7 cities here in Seminole County. We're looking at our 7 cities and allowing them to not just be partners, but to be with us side by side and helping us to offset some of their costs. So we're actually opening up these dollars to the 7 cities as well. So school system, the 7 cities, and getting people back to work with paychecks.
Thank you so much. Alexandra?
So our next question for you, Mr. Dallari, is do you plan to promote any changes to existing taxes? And if so, why?
Well, I can tell you about the past. Back in 2007, 2008, when we had the economic downturn, and as we would say, the bottom fell out, we were able to cut costs, cut taxes, so that businesses and people could weather the storm. We're actually looking at that now to try to figure out how we can reduce fees. Presently moving forward with the downturn in the economy, next year we're going to be looking at a shortfall of about $19 million. Because of that, we have to absorb that cost without having a loss of revenue. We have a loss of revenue, but without a loss of services. We believe we can do that. We believe that we can do that because our budgets are actually done sooner than is actually recommended by the state or required by the state. And because of that, we've been able to adjust our budget quicker. We've told our staff that we want to look at our revenues on a monthly basis. The first week of each month, we're looking at all our revenues and our projections, so that if our revenues and our projections are changing, we can pivot very quickly. So moving forward, as you asked, we are trying to reduce our fees without cutting the services here in Seminole County, and that's going to be important.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. And on a different note, I want to ask, are county land use regulations and permitting processes doing enough to assure the public interest, or are they too onerous?
If people look at what's happening here in Seminole County, we have what we call a comprehensive plan. We actually had a voter initiative in 2004. The voter initiative in 2004 on our comp plan actually the voters established a real boundary. So the eastern part of the county basically set the existing land use to be the future land use. Because of that, we have very little development on the east side of the county, which is about a third. And then if you go to the west side of the county in the Wakaiva Basin, that's probably about 1/8 of the county. That's also has an overlay district. So we're able to protect the western part of the county because of the sensitive lands and the springs on the western side. What that allows us to do is to focus on the urban core. The urban core is basically all the 7 cities, as well as the land in between those cities, leaving the east side of the county and the west side of the county as is via the future land use. Also, what that allows us to do is focus our development where the utilities are, where our services are, where our roads are, our water, our sewer. And because of that, it actually keeps our utility rates down, allowing people not to pay high utility costs that would have to be absorbed by the local people to extend those utilities into the rural area. I believe right now that with our comp plan, our future land use that's set, as well as our rural boundary, as well as our western area by the Wakaiva Overlay District, we have enough areas and our regulations are in place that we can actually make sure that development is in the urban core in the 7 cities, I-4, as well as 792.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
So our next question, Mr. Dallari, is should the county be providing resources to the International Council for Local Environment Initiatives or the Puget Sound Partnership?
Are you asking, I just want to clarify the question. Are you saying that we should provide resources to areas outside the county? Is that what you're asking?
No, it's called the International Council for Local Environment Initiatives. The question is, are we going to be providing more resources for that trade agreement? Or are we going to be expanding more on that trade agreement?
I'm sorry.
Oh, could you hear me? Can you hear me now? Is it better reception?
No, it is. can answer the question this way. We have regulations set down by the federal government, the EPA, as well as the state, to help keep our drinking waters clean by the amount of what they call total maximum daily loads of pollutants in our stormwater. We're one of the only counties, or the first county, I should say, that has the strictest fertilizer ordinance in the state of Florida. We went beyond what the state required so that we can make sure, number one, our drinking water is safe, our drinking water will remain clean, and that the regulations that the federal government's asking us to do to clean up our drinking water, we exceed that. More than that, I'm not sure if I understand the question, but we are continuing to better the environment by our regulations, and I believe that we're doing that through the total maximum daily loads of pollutants, that TMDL that we've been looking at.
Are you familiar with the Puget Sound partnership? Are you familiar with that partnership?
No, I'm not. I'm not familiar with the Puget Sound partnership, but I can tell you all the regulations that we are required to do, we follow them, and in some areas we exceed them.
Oh, wonderful.
Thank you
very much.
so much. So for the next question, Mr. Dallari, I would like to ask you, what do you see as the most pressing need for infrastructure or capital projects in the county?
Well, we've been blessed over the past 25 years that we have this 1 cent sales tax. The 1 cent sales tax allows us to properly plan for transportation and roads. And we started it in the early 90s. We sunset it every 10 years. So in early 2000, 2004, we renewed it. And then in 2014, we renewed it again. So this is the third time we actually have that penny sales tax. It's a partnership that we have with the 7 cities and the schools. It allows us to have the roadways and stormwater systems that we have here in Seminole County. If you go between Seminole County and Orange County, you can see a significant difference when it comes to the road infrastructure. Florida is behind in road infrastructure. You can see it every time that you leave your house that there's traffic. The state is behind, and I will tell you that we've actually used some of our local dollars to help prime the pump for the state of Florida, that they would actually move their projects sooner than later. And that's what we're doing now. So probably one of the most pressing needs that we have is our road infrastructure. And we actually have a road transportation master plan. And we've been working that plan, and every year we bring it back up to see how it's working, so to try to reduce the amount of traffic and congestion that's out there. One thing that I've always heard from our voters and the citizens is that nobody likes to sit in traffic, but the state doesn't really have enough dollars to help all that road construction. So we're able to fix that on a local level. So that's probably our pressing need.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Dallari, should the county be encouraging building and development?
I'd like to rephrase the question, or maybe answer it this way. The county should always encourage development in the urban areas. The county should also encourage the right type of development and construction. We're at a point in our history that we don't have to take, whatever a developer wants. We have to make sure that we're selective. There is quite a bit of infrastructure. There is infill projects. And this is a time and place that we need to make sure that not only do we have the infrastructure needed for that development, but we're having enough infrastructure for development that the schools aren't going to get overcrowded. We have enough water. We have enough transportation elements so that you can get to and from without sitting in a traffic light for 2 or 3 turns of the red and the green. If you go into other parts of the state, it's a nightmare. And basically, one of the problems that we've been having is allowing our sister counties to the south and to the north actually catch up to us. I would love to do Dean Road, Dean in Aloma. That's at the intersection there going down to Orange County. But there's no sense in expanding or widening Dean Road down to the Orange County line if Orange County is not going to meet up with us. So they're having that on the books that we have to wait for them. Same thing with I-4. We need to make sure that I-4 is going to get expanded right. One of the things that we're working with DOT right now is to make sure that those express lanes that they're putting in has enough water flow for fire. You know, people need to make sure that the first responders can get into those areas to rescue people. Our number one priority always has to be safety. So those are the things that we're focusing on, not just safety, but making sure that pedestrians, from a pedestrian standpoint, are not having a problem with cars. Because one of the things we're known for, and it's not a good thing here in the state of Florida, that we're one of the most dangerous areas for pedestrians. So we're putting in the correct infrastructure to try to correct that now. So that's some of the things that we're looking at. But development should be in the urban area where the infrastructure exists.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. My question to you, sir, is should County Commissioner write and adopt specific policies, or should the details of these policies be crafted and implemented by boards, commissions, or outside specialists?
The way we handle that is when we have a policy, we do go to our boards and our committees. We have various citizen groups that are on those committees. We do have advisory boards. We also, like I spoke about earlier tonight, when we did our economic plan, we went to the business people. The business people here in Seminole County put our economic plan together. It's the first of its kind in Central Florida. Government doesn't create jobs. Business people, the mom and pop shops, the local business people, the small business companies create jobs. What better way to get an economic development plan is to go to those people that actually understand what it takes to run a company, what it takes to put a job on the floor. So yes, it does make a lot of sense, and we are doing that, and we're going to continue doing that. Right now, we're looking at our stormwater in our floodplain areas. We have a couple of citizen groups that are working that right now and going to be making recommendations, not just to us, but also to the Planning and Zoning Committee. The next thing we're doing is we're constantly looking at a land development code. We're actually having public input now. I encourage every one of you listeners to be a part of that. Tell us what works, what doesn't work, what you think we should be doing better. We can always improve. One of the things I'm going to be asking our staff or other commissioners at the next county commission meeting, because of COVID-19, a lot of people are not getting out. We are doing things virtually, which is good, but we need to make sure that people have the ability to have input. So I'm going to be asking the board to keep that input time open so we don't rush it. So we need to hear from the people at all times on all subjects. I encourage people to reach out to us.
Excellent. Thank you.
So now, Mr. Dallari, we're going to switch into the subject of budgeting. Budgeting, as you know, is a second important duty of county commissioners to construct, approve, and implement a budget. Here are some questions to establish their experience with budgeting and their stance on issues that may arise during the budgeting process. So our first question for you with budgeting. Number one, what is your experience with preparing or authorizing budgets?
I have quite a bit of experience with it, but we also have a phenomenal staff that also does most of it. And the reason I say I have experience with it, when I first took office, one of the things we did is I wanted to go to a zero-based budget. What that means is that each year you're not just increasing the budget by a percentage. We're actually each year going to zero, and each department has to reestablish their budget to what they need. Well, then you can make the argument where, well, if people wait to the end, then they're going to be at the end of the year, they're going to be spending all their money just to make sure that they can justify it. So what we do is 6 months into our budget, we actually determine what's hasn't been spent for those first 6 months, and we actually sweep the budget. We put that back into our reserves, our savings account. One of the things we pride ourselves here in Seminole County is that we have adequate reserves. We have our policy, our internal policy as the Board of County Commissioners, we try to have a minimum of 20% reserves. That reserves helps us get through any unforeseen emergencies like COVID-19, the pandemic. It also helps us get through the hurricanes. We don't borrow money. We actually use our reserves, and we borrow it from our reserves ourselves. We pay ourselves back with an interest rate. I will tell you, during the big hurricanes of 2004, when we had Francis, Gene, and Charlie, 3 hurricanes hit Seminole County every 2 weeks. I mean, it was like Groundhog Day. It was amazing. We actually, in order to get this county cleaned up and people back to a sense of normality, our county spent about, I think it was $50 million. We were able to take that out of reserves to offset that cost. We did get reimbursed from FEMA, but FEMA on a regular basis takes anywhere between 5 to 8 years to reimburse you.
Wow.
We still have several hurricanes that we've been paying for that we still haven't been paid for yet. It's important that we look at it. It's not our money. It's your money. And make no bones about it. It is your money. And we want to spend it if it's your money. So we want to spend your dollar one time. So we want to make sure that whatever we do budget-wise, we're actually looking at things very clearly. So we actually have funds. We are a pay-to-go kind of county. We don't borrow money just for projects. We'll actually save money and put money into certain accounts until we get to the right level, and then we'll spend it. And we try to go as cash. And it's been very effective. I will tell you the thing that we've also done is our landfill fund is also a nice reserve that we've been looking at. Our utilities, I will tell you this, that when we go to the bond market to get our rating from our bonds, from Moody's and Standard & Poor's, they rank us very high. We're a AA3, which for local government is very high. And that's because not only our reserves are high, not high, but they're correct, but they're also at a point where if there's any unforeseen emergencies, we can pivot and take care of ourselves, where we don't have to put special assessments out there. We don't have to borrow money at high rates. One of the things we also wanted to do was when we have reserves, we wanted to invest it correctly. So, but we didn't want people here locally that could influence us. So we hired an investment company from the state of Texas that has no relationship with us. And we did that so that they could be totally objective. So we have an investment strategy ladder. So we have investments that are paying quite well. Well, now because of COVID-19 and everything, we're actually living off of some of those. But our investments, and we've been working with the clerk of the court. I will tell you, Grant Malloy is a phenomenal clerk, and him and David Johnson, the property appraiser, with their projections and their partnership with us and the 5 county commissioners, it's a win-win team that not only do we save money, not only do we invest the money correctly, but we budget our money so that we understand where we can spend it and where we can actually save. One of the things that we've been doing is, and I'm going to brag on our sheriff here a little bit. One of the things our sheriff did, which I was totally impressed with, I got to tell you this, with everything that's happening with computers and technology, how do you take computers and you got to store them in a forensic side? So what our sheriff came up with a couple years ago was we bought a very large forensic hard drive system, large enough so that other agencies don't have to buy it. We actually lease it to them. We actually make money off of it. There are ways that local government, through ingenuity, can actually not only save money, but leverage those funds to offset other costs. The partnerships with the schools. We were the first county in the state of Florida before it was required to pay for the resource officers to keep our kids safe. That was a partnership with the school board as well as the sheriff and some of the cities. We're very proactive, and we don't wait. We actually act ahead of time because we're always looking, what can we do better for our citizens? And it's important that we spend that dollar very expeditiously.
Thank you
So,
so much.
Thank you, Mr. Dallari. Thank you for that beautiful
Well,
answer.
Thank you, and very thorough. But you know, it ties into the next question, which is you've already answered, I believe, which is what are your views on the county's current level of debt, public debt? So you've mentioned about, you know, you're not highly leveraged and you're well positioned, you know, even though and prepared for any catastrophe or any adverse situation. So this is the opportunity for you to expand on what you just discussed.
Well, I want to brag on an individual here. His name is Alan Harris. Alan Harris is our emergency management director. We were the first county in the state of Florida, the first county in the state of Florida this year to declare a state of emergency because of COVID-19. All the hospitals and everyone surrounding us were complaining that we were jumping the gun too quick. We didn't believe that. We were prepared with Alan and his team, as well as everyone else. We're prepared for a lot of things. We're not over leveraged. In fact, our debt ratio, if you look at it, is very, very low. We're constantly looking at our debt ratio as well as our debt to income ratio. And Moody's, Standard & Poor's, they brag on us. And they love when we come up there and do our ratings reviews, because they know that our reserves are correct and we are positioned to handle ourselves. We've actually looked at things where our road projects, because of other projects, we've actually canceled projects to make sure that other projects are properly funded because of some shortfalls. I will tell you that we had to get some fiber optic lines out to Geneva Elementary School. So we were able to cancel a road project and do a road shoulder project to get the fiber optic line out there. It's important that we're always looking at 3-5 years down the road, and we do that on a regular basis.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
So you also tapped into our next question as well. So the third question is, if new resources were available, which you mentioned about working with the police and with the schools, what one area of county services would you feel most needs additional resources?
Well, I will tell you now, with what's happening with the pandemic and having to do the work from home and remote and all the go-to meetings and all the other electronic stuff, probably virtual meetings is probably something that we need to be investing in a little bit more. We're doing a good job, but we could do better. And then when it comes to all the electronics, you know, cybersecurity, you know, not that we have a problem, we need to just make sure that we're ahead of those high-tech people to make sure that we're keeping all our resources correctly. And then I'll also tell you that our most vulnerable population, not just children, which are a vulnerable population, but also the elderly. We need to make sure that both on the children's side and our elderly side, that they're all safe. We're doing that, but we can always do a better job.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And on the topic of budget, as we continue, should any part of the county budget be shielded from cuts? And if so, which area?
Well, we're constantly looking at every line item. I mean, nothing should be shielded, but at the same token, you know, nothing should be slashed just because you want to cut the budget. Before you cut the budget, you always need to ask yourself or ask the department, you know, where and how can you cut the budget? Is there another way to do things? Is there a better way to do it? Can we consolidate projects or consolidate using assets? I will tell you, one of the things that we're different than the surrounding counties is that we have one centralized dispatch system for fire and law enforcement. Not many counties can say that. So we're constantly looking at things. Do we always look at our budget to see what we can cut? Absolutely. Because of the downturn in the economy, like the $19 million we just spoke about a couple of minutes ago, we're looking at vacant positions. So we've cut some vacant positions, and maybe it's not this year to fully staff that item. But I will tell you, when it comes to law enforcement, paramedics, firefighters, we're not cutting them. We're not even looking at that because we need to keep people safe. We need to make sure that people, the big red truck can get there, and the vehicles with the big blue lights can get there to save you. But the other thing that we're looking at is our water department, making sure that all our water operators, not something that's on your mind on a regular basis, but it's important that our water operators and our water plants are fully funded and that we have enough staffing there to handle that. Because in times of emergency for hurricanes, you'd be amazed at the demand that's happening on our water plant.
Thank you.
So the next question is, what element of the county's government is most effective and why?
Most effective or effective?
Yeah. Most effective. EFF. Effective. Effective.
Thank you. I will tell you probably the biggest thing that we try to pride ourselves on is communication and transparency. I don't care what department you call up. If you need a document, the county staff will always try to help you try to find that document. I would also tell you that our roads crew, if there's an issue out there, they're going to knock on your door to try to figure out, you know, where is that sidewalk that you're complaining about or that pothole. So transparency is very important to us. We want to make sure that your issues are being heard, and it's important that we, the government, it's not just a slogan, Florida's natural choice. We want to be there for you, and we want to be a part of the solution, not part of the problem. So it's about transparency.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So for the final question in the budget category, are Seminole County, do you consider Seminole County taxes are too high, about right, or pleasantly low?
That's a question we ask every year. And when we do our audit, we have to do an audit every year. It's called CAFA. It's a certified audit from an outside CPA. And every time they come in and they work with not just our finance group, but also with the clerks group, and they're always looking at the books, make sure that everything's balancing and make sure that everything's correct. And then they do a presentation to us. One of the things that we always ask is always two questions. One is, where do we stand with the 7 cities in Seminole County? And then the next question is, where do we stand with the surrounding counties and the other cities around the outside of county? We're not the lowest, we're not the highest. We're probably right around the 50 percentile. There are some cities and counties that are a lot higher than us. If you look at our tax rate today, we're probably paying the same tax rate that was in the early 2000s. You know, that check we write at the end of the year for property taxes. One of the things I'll also tell your listeners is that it's not just the taxes you pay on your home, we call it tax bill for property taxes. It's also your utility rates. Look at your utility rates. Seminole County, we pride ourselves on being somewhere around the 50 percentile on that as well. There are some cities that are very high. Our county, and not all the county is handled by our water system or our sewer system. It's handled by some of the cities because we don't have a water plant in that area. I'll give you a good example, like the Black Hammock area. We don't have a water plant there, so we actually wholesale water from the city of Oviedo. Well, there's the other part of Oviedo doesn't have a sewer plant, so they wholesale their sewer from Iron Bridge, which is in the county. So it's a partnership. So it's important that we look at our utility rates to make sure that we're not the highest, we're not the lowest, because if you're the lowest, then you're not actually putting enough infrastructure in to make sure that the water quality is correct, making sure that there's enough redundancy and it's reliable, that we're actually disposing the sewage correctly. So we try to be in the percentile of all of that, and we're always asking that question. So we're about in the middle of the pack, so to speak.
Excellent, thank you.
So the final portion of our questions is management. County commissioners are also responsible for the county's workforce. Here are some questions that inquire into views about staffing priorities and public administration in general. The first question, and it's actually in 2 parts. So the first part is, what do you think is an appropriate ratio of local government employees to constituents? And then the second question is, when managing public agencies, is it better to have more employees at a modest wage or few employees at a wage high enough to attract quality applicants?
Well, first of all, you want to have the right staffing. Worst thing you can do is have someone on your staff or someone in a position that truly doesn't know their job. And to do that, you have to pay the market rate. I will tell you that our staffing, we have phenomenal staffing people. They are experts in their field, all of them. I will also tell you that it's important that, they are compensated correctly so that they're not leapfrogging and job shopping just to find another job. I will tell you that our staff, when they come to work, they're happy. Not everybody's happy all the time, but for the most part, they are. We have good benefits. Our benefits are fair. Our salaries, we've just did a market study last year. For the last 2 years, we've done market studies, and we've actually adjusted people's pay. Worst thing you can do is underpay your staff. They're not going to do their job, and they're going to be leapfrogging to the next job. If they can't provide and actually make a good wage for their family, they're going to leave. I mean, that's the, and you're not going to get the right people. We have a phenomenal work staff. We're not over leveraged by the ratio. I'm not going to sit here and tell you what the ratio is, but during the downturn in 07 to 08, we did let a lot of people go. We let about 20% of our workforce go because we felt we were too top heavy, and we have not even remotely brought them all back yet. And if you think about it, our population has grown significantly since 07, 08. It's over 10 years ago. So I can sit here very comfortably and tell you that we're not overstaffed. I can also tell you that we're constantly looking at our staff to make sure that they're paid correctly. So we did a compensation study that I told you about. And now the next thing we're going to be doing is making sure that the categories on that job are correctly defined. That's our next step. But that's after we get out of the pandemic. That's after we get to a sense of normality. So we're always looking at our staffing to make sure that not only are they happy, but they're properly compensated, both on a salary rate and also on their benefit.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So for under management as well, I just want to ask, will you require county employees to pay the union as a condition of employment?
Well, the only union we have is the fire union. I mean, if the county staff wants to unionize, that's up to them. I have a great working relationship with the fire union, the local here. I pride myself that we have a phenomenal fire department. And I'm going to brag on them a little bit, that our fire department and our paramedics are probably some of the best in the Southeast United States. I'll also tell you that even though we have a union contract that we negotiate, during the downturn in the economy in 07, 08, they forego increases because they knew that money was tight. I give a lot of credit for that. Not everybody will do that. And we have a phenomenal group of men and women that are here to serve the public, because it is about public service.
Absolutely.
And public service. So if someone wants to unionize, that's up to them. But we only have one union here, and that is the fire union. It's not a typical union. It is a brotherhood or a sisterhood because, they're working 24 on, 72 off. It's a different type of union. I've had no complaints from our county staff that feel they've not been properly treated. And if they do, I'd be willing to listen.
Okay.
Great. Well, our last question for the evening for you is, would citizens get more effective services at a better rate if more functions of the county were accomplished by contracting with private providers?
So you have to look at it to the point and do the economic analysis. A private company is going to want to make a decent profit. So the question you need to ask yourself is, does it pay for us to hire those people and provide all the benefits, or could we outsource it? It depends upon the actual job you're talking about. There are some services like cutting of the grass in some of the mediums, some of our parks, and we actually contract that out. We also contract out picking up the garbage, the trash. We have 3 districts. We have 2 different companies. And it's important that we actually look at that on a regular basis. We hire contracts that we know that are going to sunset in a certain amount of time, that we don't have to keep those county employees paid for their whole career. One thing you can do is you don't want to have people revolving on a regular basis. So it all depends upon the actual job you're talking about. It depends upon the issue.
Thank you so much. And from the audience, we just have one question for you, sir. What is your greatest achievement while you are in office?
One of the things I pride myself on is listening to the public, and I'm here to serve them. So I love it when a citizen will contact me, and it happens on a regular basis, where the citizen will come in and they're kind of distraught because they don't know where to turn or where to go. And I try to find their solution for them. I will take their side. Even if staff says, well, we don't do that. Well, yes, we do that because we represent them. Even though we may not have done it yet, we need to figure out a solution. In fact, I got called tonight. There's a family that has an elderly parent. Parent just, I'm not going to give you names, but parent just passed away, unfortunately, and is a veteran. And they want to be buried in the veteran cemetery in a different state. And then, where do we turn? Where do we go? The funeral home that they went to didn't really know that much in that state. I said, come into the office, call me tomorrow, and we'll contact our veteran services. We're very veteran friendly here, and we're always trying to find a solution. And no matter how small it may be or how big you think it is, we'll find a solution, and we're not going to stop until we believe we exhaust every avenue. And I will tell you, so my biggest accomplishment is working here with the citizens of Seminole County and being their voice. That's what I believe my biggest accomplishment is.
Well, thank you so much. And I want to say on behalf of Alexandra and myself, we've so thoroughly enjoyed speaking with you. And I appreciate you navigating this technological cesspool that we've had to deal with, but we did it. And we're better people for it. And hopefully the voters that were here tonight are more informed because of our perseverance. So I appreciate you coming on tonight to help us understand the dynamics of your office, so that moving into the primaries on August 18th is we will be how can I say, more strengthened and more hopeful. Thank you, sir, for your service to the county, and thank you again for joining us. I want to say thank you to our sponsor, Grassroots for America, and I want to say we are committed to providing with profound insights via these debates, and as we move forward the primary election. And I want to say as well that we are in a fight, and together we will get through this. Alexandra?
And I just want to say in closing, thank you so much, Mr. Dallari, for coming on, for sharing your plans and ideas for the district. Also, I thank everyone who is watching nationwide and worldwide. And please do not forget to vote August 18th and demand paper ballots all the way. Mail-in ballots equal fraud, and it's just a way to get rid of our free and fair elections.
Thank you. And stay tuned for the next one. See you on the next one. Have a good day, have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this.
My pleasure. God bless you all.
Bob Dallari.
God bless.
Dallari, District 1. Thank you so much, sir.
For too long, a small group in our nation's capital has reaped the rewards of government while the people have borne the cost. The establishment protected itself, but not the citizens of our country. That all changes starting right here and right now.
One thing, I don't know why, it doesn't even matter. for joining us on Send'Or TV. Please subscribe to the channel so that you can be notified when a new episode is uploaded. Also follow us on Instagram and on Facebook, and we definitely appreciate you being part of this community.